Today, my guest is former WWE talent. You've seen him across FCW, you've seen him in TNA wrestling. He's wrestled all over the place, Mr. Wes Briscoe. Wes, how are you, sir?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you probably a dumb question, but what made you want to get into professional wrestling?
Of course, watching my dad and my uncle, and just kind of, just something kind of called me. I guess it was like a sixth sense or something. Something in the family blood that kind of, excuse me, made me want to go into professional wrestling.
What was it like growing up in that environment, being who your father is and your uncle?
Well, it was really crazy too because not only like when I was little, they were talent, but
Mhm.
also my dad being Vince McMahon's right hand man and agent, and also being a promoter in Tampa, all the guys would stop by my house, like, or my parents' houses, as I should say. And you would never know who would be waking me up in the middle of the night. Um, it was crazy growing up. There was always something going on.
At what age did you finally decide that this was something you were going to actively pursue?
Um, I would say like 24, 25. I did a little bit right like in high school, like training with like Steve Kern a little bit, but
Mhm.
other than that, not too much.
Was your father supportive of this decision, or was he hesitant for you to footsteps?
I mean, he was pretty supportive. I mean, he always has been through my amateur wrestling, um, from karate to boxing to football to pretty much anything, being a professional wakeboarder. Pretty much anything he's always supported me as long as I gave it 110%, didn't half-ass it.
So you've always been athletic and busy and kept yourself going prior to wrestling.
Yeah, I was a professional wakeboarder. I turned pro at 18 and did the pro circuit for at least a good 5, 6 years.
And how is that? Dude, getting into that world, how is that world?
That world was crazy. It was kind of me just wanting to kind of like separate myself and create, oh, excuse me, Harper. Create my identities outside of being professional wrestlers or great amateur wrestlers. I just wanted to kind of create my own path, and I luckily had that outlet of being a professional wakeboarder where I was able to, you know, build my name somewhere else other than wrestling, even though I fell back into wrestling.
So how did FCW come to be?
At the time, they were looking for to tap into a different audience, more of a like extreme sports audience. And my dad mentioned to Vince, hey, Wes was a great amateur wrestler, and of course, he's a world champ or world ranked wakeboarder right now. I mean, he's on the X Games, he's doing all these things, he's traveling the world. People know him all over the world. So Vince was like, that's a good idea, and gave me a shot.
And did you have to try out with FCW, or did they give you a developmental deal just to see how you would do?
They gave me a developmental deal just because I was already a professional athlete at the
Hmm.
time, and I already had contracts. So I was kind of telling them like, hey, like it's not like I'm like fresh out of school or
Hmm.
like have like a 9 to 5. I'm making great money as a professional wakeboarder. What is there?
Hmm.
What's the options? Like I'm gonna have to sacrifice. I own a house. I have bills I still have to pay.
Hmm. So what was your first initial thoughts of what FCW was? Because it wasn't the glitz and glamour of a performance center. It was how I feel professional wrestling when you start out should be in that warehouse atmosphere to see, you know, who's passionate and who's not give them the air conditioned building and all this.
Well, just not only that, I mean, we would have to set up chairs. I mean, me and Drew McIntyre would go out and hang up posters and like, the good thing about it is you learn every aspect of professional wrestling from setting up the chairs to selling merch to parking to just every tearing down the ring, putting up the ring. We had to do it all. I mean, Sheamus was right there next to me. Same with Roman Reigns, picking up the boards, putting them up. I mean, that's just what we did. That's what we had to do. And gave us a lot more respect for the business and a lot more respect for the crew and
Hmm.
the people that once you finally make it, people that already have it all set up for you.
Hmm. Was there anything that was harder than what you thought would be stepping into the world of professional wrestling, or was it easier because of your athletic background?
It was difficult in sense of like, I was always like a amateur wrestler, a boxer, I have a black belt, so I like was hard to like hold back.
Hmm.
And then the other sense was a lot of the guys would put a lot of extra added pressure on me because of my last name and kind of not necessarily bully me, but give me a rough time for, saying, oh, you're just there because of your last name, stuff like that.
That was going to be my next question, if that was a good thing or a bad thing when it came to having that last
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword,
name. Hmm.
but I worked hard and did the best that I could, so that's all that matters.
And at that time, there was a lot of second generation talent going through FCW, I feel.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, R.I.P. Wyndham. I mean, just Roman. I mean, the Usos, Tonga, um, just there was a lot of second generation wrestlers when I was there. When I first got there, it was mainly, um, Bray and Bo, me, Ted DiBiase, and Junior, and I don't think of who else. Joe Henning was there. Dakota Darso. Um, that's about it that I can remember.
How was it working with these trainers that were there?
The trainers there, oh my God, Norman Smiley is probably one of the best trainers ever, and just all around knowledge. I mean, I can go hours into talking about Norman Smiley. I mean, everyone only has good things to say about him. He is dedicated to the business, and he's a wizard and knows every single hold and move, and he was a great coach. And then also didn't have Dusty Rhodes as my promo coach, which was awesome, which helped me so much in learning promos and how to structure a promo and just his bare honesty a lot of times. And two, like we would have to cut promos in front of all the bullies.
Hmm.
And he would give us a time limit and we would have to hit the time limit. There was no like cutting it short or going over, like you had to hit it. And it was like almost an arena of like who would have the best promo. And you could tell like the guys that would, the people would be like, okay, your time's up. You got to go. And they're so nervous. Or the guys that have been working on their promos and just knock it out of the park. And everyone's like, whoa, that's awesome.
How intimidating was it? Intimidating doing that in front of the American Dream?
It was just very intimidated. It's more intimidating doing it in front of the bullies.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, when you have a group of 80 guys that, are all fighting for your job and trying to come up with the most creative promo every single week and, just and not having a storyline or not really having anything to go off of, just cut a promo.
When you were developing, okay, let me rephrase that. Did they want you to be Wes Briscoe when you were there, or did they want you to be someone else?
Um, they kind of just wanted me to be me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
So when you were developing who you were going to be, or what character, or who you're going to portray, was that all you, or did they have some input on what direction they wanted that to go?
They did when I finally progressed and
Hmm.
finally got, you would say, TV ready to be put on WWE, and that was when me and Xavier Woods were the tag team champions at the time.
And how long did they work with you until you were TV ready? That they
They
felt.
worked they worked with me and Xavier for probably about a good solid month prepping us and like telling us, hey, like we had this idea for you guys. This is what you guys are gonna do. This is how you're gonna debut. This is like all the steps of like what we're about to like get into. I remember me and him, we went out and bought 3 new suits because we were like, because at the time there was a dress code where would have to travel in suits and show up in suits, and so we went out and went suit shopping and stuff like that.
That's kind of sucked being in Tampa weather there, walking around in a suit all day.
Yeah, but I mean, at that time, what they were prepping us for was about to go on the road.
Hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like, that's, traveling in the airports and stuff like that.
Did you feel like you were ready for TV at the time that they were putting you and Xavier together?
Oh, at that time, me and Xavier, he was honestly the God, one of the best people to work with and have it as a tag partner. He helped me out so much. Um, and just sticking up for myself and saying, you know what, we're both pit bulls. We're both gonna, because we're not me and him. We're not 6'6", 6'7", like, but we are also we don't back down. We also had that attitude in the ring where we would tag in and out real fast and just be rapid pit bulls and just stay on the guy and just make it believable, make
Hmm.
it look good. And me and Xavier, we just had such a good vibe. We had good promos together. We just we were just, I was like kind of like the happy go lucky surfer and he was the one just keeping me in line. And like, it was really fun.
It seemed like that time period they were starting to get away from the typical mold of what everyone would think back then a wrestler was, and they were giving everybody a chance and opportunity. And you didn't have to be this big jack 7 foot.
Yeah,
But
me and Xavier were pretty jacked though.
yeah.
We were both. I mean, we both put in a lot of time in the gym and both
Hmm.
worked out really really hard. We were just not 6'7".
And did you feel like was that at that time period where they still was it that holding you back a little bit maybe in their eyes?
No, not really, because me and Xavier, we had such a unique style that we they would when we started getting prepped, we would start wrestling people like Tyrese and his tag partner, which was his name was Andrew, and he was 7'2", and Tyrese is 6'9", Brodus Clay or whatever you want to call him.
Hmm.
One of my best friends today. I mean, I talk to him almost every single day, but he's 6'9". So they would always and we would have believable matches where we worked really well, and the big guys loved working with us because we knew how to take the bumps and we would lay it in. We knew how to work around their, let's say, non-athletic abilities. We
Hmm.
knew how to like move. So that was never an issue. That was just more cherry on the topping is that, hey, we can throw these guys in with whoever and have a 6-star match.
Absolutely. And that was a good thing to have in your corner, being able to do stuff like that, not just be, just one known to do one thing. But when you guys are like the pit bulls and stuff like that, it can showcase a lot more of your ability. I feel.
Exactly. And too, like Brodus, like when we would get in the ring, he would let me slapjack him and give him big, but we would do it where it made sense, where we were rocking and rolling. Maybe he hit the ropes and I used all, we made everything make sense, but yet they had trust in us and allowed us to be us and do the moves that got us over. And that's what kind of started pushing us over where, you know, all the FCW fans and everyone that was watching on Bright House really started getting behind us because and we started getting eyes on us because, a lot of the guys were having trust and letting us do this stuff.
Hmm. And during that time, were they signing a lot of just athletes in general, not just professional wrestlers? They were doing models and football players and athletes. Was that well received?
I mean, one time, they had a bodybuilder come in, and Dr. Tom put me in the ring with them and told me to stretch him, and was like, "Do some of your amateur wrestling on this guy, show him what's up." I mean, of course, we would have those guys, but they wouldn't last long because, like you said, we were in the warehouse and we had every tough guy from low key to, like
Hmm.
we had a bunch of shooters. We had Roberto Del Rio was there. I mean, there's tons of like guys that were able to hold their own. So it's like there
Hmm.
wasn't like how it probably is at NXT compared to where it was at FCW, where the boys kind of ran the locker room. There was no like getting away from us. We were in a warehouse and it's just, 4 or 5 rings set up and some metal chairs and that's it.
I've always been told that Dr. Tom would always give you just enough rope to hang yourself.
Oh, I love Dr. Tom. I talk to him. I still talk to him today.
How was it working with Dr. Tom and learning from him?
Learn from Dr. Tom and Steve Kern, just the knowledge. And I still learn from Dr. Tom. Next month there's a Iowa Hall of Fame, the Waterloo Hall of Fame, which I'm gonna be a part of. I'm a part of it every year. And last year he was doing a seminar, and I just walked in, just sat in and listened because just his knowledge and just the small things to
Hmm.
me is what makes a great wrestler. Of when you shoot someone out of the ropes, you don't shoot them where you're in the way. It's
Hmm.
just little things like that that separate the good from the bad.
Hmm. As you were progressing in FCW, did they have any plans for you that you knew of, or was
Well,
that?
the plans for FCW when me and Xavier were champs to, we had the day that we were going to debut on I believe it was a pay per view in Miami, and then we were booked for Raw, then SmackDown, and just that whole month we were, going to debut. That was our going to be our debut, and then the night before is when I tore my ACL, PCL, MCL.
And how did that happen?
I was I was doing a double twist off the top rope, like a spinning crossbody, and um, Ginger Mahoy kind of like stood back a little too much, and maybe he didn't know like the distance I was going, so he kind of didn't catch me, and I kind of got scared, and I
Hmm.
put out my leg.
What was the recovery time for that?
8 months.
Did so during that time, were you able to train when you were able to get back into the ring and anything? Did you feel like you still had them in your corner?
I thought so because at the time, I mean, I was doing everything I was told to do. I was
Hmm.
doing rehab twice a day. I was, doing as much working out as I could, watching tapes. They're going to practice, even though I didn't have to, like
Hmm.
doing everything that I should be, going to all the shows, like just making sure that I wasn't unseen. But when I came back, they said there was nothing there for me. The writers didn't have anything, and developmental was kind of past my stage, and they were like, well, I guess it's time to release you. So that's kind of what happened.
Was there any particular moments that stand out more than others during your time in developmental? Sorry.
Man, just there's a like when I finally got it, just the matches I would have with like Trent Beretta and um just all, everyone from Big E to like all kinds of people, just all the different matches and, traveling and just all that stuff. It was really fun.
Have you guys had any conversations since your initial release?
With WWE,
Yeah.
yeah, a couple, actually.
And
Yeah.
just
And
that's
some not too long ago, actually.
so that's something you'd be very willing to return to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I would really like. There's been some talk, so we'll see.
So how was life after your release?
I mean, of course, that was crazy. It was
Mhm.
what's the next step, and my next step was I went down to Puerto Rico and wrestled for Carlos Colon and WWC.
How was that?
That was crazy, crazy. I was actually living down in Puerto Rico and just wrestling and being surfing and going crazy.
Is it as crazy as everyone says it is? That audience?
The audience, the nightlife, the women. Oh my goodness. You, it was trouble. It was trouble.
But it seemed like a good place to go afterwards because your name's still out there. That's still a very popular place with wrestling.
Yeah, and for me, it was also a really good place to go to learn another style of wrestling,
Hmm.
to, just get a whole nother aspect of instead of WWE style.
And how much of a difference is that?
Hell of a difference. Um, Night and day. Night and day. I mean, it's almost better to get trained by them and get released than get trained by someone else and then have to like learn all their like proper protocols and
Hmm.
just certain things that you can and can't do, but you see other people just do it nonstop.
So, what was your next move after Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, I got signed with TNA.
How was your time at TNA?
I loved it. It was man, at the time I was at TNA, we were rocking and rolling. We, well, actually, before TNA, I was on Paragon Wrestling, and we were on, yeah, the Paragon station, and I did that for a while, but then got signed with TNA, and then, of course, when I got signed with TNA, they still had Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, Sting, Hogan. I mean, just Gunner, um, Robbie E, um, just the talent that they had, Mr. Kennedy, Kurt Angle. I mean, the talent, Abyss. I mean,
Hmm.
just the talent that they had was so crazy. Devon, Bully Ray, D'Lo Brown. I mean, the Pope. I mean, you could just keep going on and on about the talent that at that period when I was in TNA, we were hot. It was a good time to be in TNA.
How did your TNA deal come to be?
At that time, Eric Bischoff had a creation. He wanted to do a thing of like Sons of Anarchy,
Hmm.
and he knew that I was like heavily tattooed and was kind of in the biker scene at the time, and like knew a couple of like bikers. So he was like, "Oh, Wes would fit in perfectly," and kind of, Bruce called me up and said, "Hey, would you like to do this?" And I said, "You know what? That sounds like a good time." So
Was there
I
any
decided to pull the trigger.
any moments stand out more than others during your run at TNA?
There's so many. TNA was probably one of the best times in my career. We just had a blast, and getting to wrestle Kurt Angle in a
Hmm.
steel cage match on pay-per-view, like that's a pretty big highlight. That's something that not too many people say that they've wrestled Kurt Angle in a steel cage match for pay-per-view.
Exactly.
And I was actually on the pay per view poster was me. So that was like pretty cool too. Like just having your own like pay-per-view like poster, like that was pretty cool. And just being with Luke Gallows and all the boys and learning like I learned a lot from Devon. Devon was like one of my road partners and the guy that because he was at the time halfway through I was still living in Puerto Rico and it was the traveling was getting to me because we quit being in the TNA studio and we started going on the road.
Hmm.
We started doing live TV, which and a blessing. We loved it, the boys did, but in the other aspect, a lot of places say that's what killed TNA is when we went on the road and went live.
Hmm.
But the traveling from Puerto Rico to get to all of our destinations when we stopped going out of Orlando started being like very hectic. So, because there's only two major airports and one really tiny airport. So made traveling really difficult. So I moved back to Florida
Hmm.
and that's when like right towards the like middle of TNA when we were like fully heavily traveling and it was so much fun just getting well the reason why I said that is because Dion lived in Orlando and we would fly together a lot. He was like, "Hey, come with me." And I'd be like, "All right." And I would try to give him money for hotels and he'd be like, "No, no, no, no." And I would just, buy him beer or whatever and just listen to his stories and ask him questions and there was so many like funny times and times that he had to like calm me down in the ring because there was like an incident when at the time Spike TV was doing a partnership with UFC
Hmm.
or was it UFC or was it Pride? I don't remember, but they had a couple of the fighters come. I think it was no, it was Bellator maybe. Whichever
Must have
one was
been.
on, I don't know. Whichever one was on Spike TV. Um, they had Rampage and Tito Ortiz come down, and also King Mo. They had them come down and like do some like cross promotion stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm doing some stuff with Rampage, and I get in there, and everything's all cool, but like we're having a 6-man tag, and you can see it if you ever pull that 6-man tag up. But I get thrown into the corner where it's like the babyface corner, and he like babyfaces are working on me, and I'm like selling, so I'm not like prepared. He reaches in between the ropes and like slaps me. They're like hit, and I'm like, what the like, and I remember you can see it clear as day. I turn and I'm selling, so all I could do is punch him as hard as I could in his ankle. And you could see him, he like goes down. He's like, "Hey, this guy just like hit me." And like you could see it on TV and like on YouTube or whatever. He like grabs his ankle and he's like, "Damn." But I was like, "Man, like you're not gonna like."
Hmm.
And then I like tagged out and I was like, "Hey, man, when I get in there, I'm gonna, go hard on Rampage." And you could see Devon tell me, "No, like calm down, just do what you gotta do." Because I didn't care. I was like, whatever.
What happened with TNA?
What?
What happened after TNA? Did they just not renew your contract? Were they going in a different direction?
Um, change of command,
Hmm.
and that's when everybody started leaving. That's
Hmm.
when Bobby Roode, another great person. I mean, that's when Austin left. That's when James Storm. I mean, just Samoa Joe. Like everybody was just it was just bad management and just
So,
not. They wanted to give me a deal, but they didn't know how long I would sit out.
hmm.
And I got a deal to go to New Japan. So I was like, well, can I do both? And they were like, no. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go to New Japan.
I don't blame you. How was your time at New Japan?
New Japan was really fun. I did 4 tours over there, so that was really, really good and great experience and, a whole nother learning style and just learning a whole nother style of wrestling.
How has life been after New Japan?
Well, during New Japan, I was also wrestling in Europe at the time. So I was going back and forth and wrestling in between England and Ireland and everywhere in the UK.
Or did you have time to sleep?
I didn't. I was trying to soak up and learn all the knowledge as I could.
So what's next for Wes Briscoe?
Man, I'm just gonna keep training and I got a big show coming up, the Waterloo Hall of Fame in Iowa. I'll be back in the ring. I've had a couple of injuries and set out for over a year now because I've had jaw surgery and another knee surgery. So just kind of getting the body back ready and getting ready for next month.
Where can people reach out to you at?
You people can find me at Instagram at westbriscoe19, of course Twitter West Briscoe, and then book westbriscoe at gmail.com for any bookings, autograph signings, or coaching. And then I'm relaunching the Briscoe and Big Ace show. That will be coming out in the next week or two. We're starting to revamp our show and get that going again.
If you had any advice to give to anybody getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
I would say get the fundamentals down before you start trying to learn or get out there and do matches. Learn the fundamentals because you learn how to keep people safe and learn how to work properly. People are going to want to work with you. People are going to want and be coachable.
Hmm.
That's the key thing. Be coachable. Make sure you listen to what everyone has to say. You don't necessarily have to take everybody's opinion and apply it, but listen to some opinions and don't be scared to try it out.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you for taking a little time out today, sir. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do. It's been an honor, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate you.
If there's ever anything that I can do, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank